Listen, I'm going to tell you something about the emptiness you feel, and it's going to sting. That hollow ache in your chest when he finally texts back after 3 days, and your whole body floods with something you call love, but is actually relief. That tightness in your throat when he's being kind, and your first thought is, what does he want? That feeling of being on stage in your own life, performing a version of yourself you think will finally be enough. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That split second where you catch your reflection and don't recognize the woman staring back because she's been shape-shifting for so long, she forgot what her original form looked like. Before you think this is about blaming you or making you wrong, understand that what I'm about to reveal comes from sitting with thousands of women, watching the same movie play out with different actors. There's a mechanism, a program installed before you could spell your own name. And it's running your life right now, this very second, choosing your relationships, sabotaging your peace, keeping you hungry for a specific kind of pain you've learned to call love. Until you see this mechanism clearly, you'll keep wondering why you're exhausted, why you choose men who can't fully choose you back, why peace feels like boredom, why every relationship starts like a fairy tale and ends with you feeling invisible. You know the most common thing I hear from women? I keep attracting the same type of man. Different face, different job, different city. Same ending. And she's looking at me like it's a mystery. Like she's been cursed by the universe. Like she's just unlucky in love. And I have to tell her what nobody else will. It's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's not that all men are the same. It's that you have a type. And that type was programmed into your nervous system before you knew boys existed. The little girl who learned what love feels like is still choosing your boyfriends. And she keeps choosing men who make you work for it because that's the only kind of love that registers as real. Think about the last man who broke your heart. Not just disappointed you, broke you. Now think about your father. Not who he was when he was trying, who he actually was in the moments that mattered. Was he there, really there, or was he there but absent, present but checked out? Did you have to earn his attention? Did you have to be good enough, quiet enough, pretty enough to get him to see you? Did his love feel conditional? Did you learn that love is something you have to deserve? Now look at that man who broke your heart again. Look at how hard you worked, how much you gave, how you bent yourself into shapes trying to be what he needed. You were doing it again, running the same program, trying to earn what should be freely given. The emptiness you're trying to fill in him is the emptiness you've been trying to fill since you were small. This is childhood programming. Every woman who keeps choosing wrong has one of 2 origin stories, sometimes both. The first, you had a father who taught you that male love is conditional. Maybe he was absent. Maybe he was there but emotionally unavailable. Maybe he was critical. Maybe he left. Whatever the specifics, you learned something fundamental. You learned that you have to earn love, that you're not inherently valuable, that your worth is tied to what you do, not who you are. So now, as an adult, when a man gives you attention without you having to work for it, it doesn't feel like love. It feels wrong. Your nervous system doesn't recognize it. Healthy love feels boring to you because it doesn't activate the wound. You need the chase, the uncertainty, the hot and cold, because that's what love felt like when you first learned it. That's the frequency your system is tuned to. The second origin story. You watched your mother. You absorbed her like a sponge absorbs water. Maybe she complained about your father constantly but stayed. Maybe she was bitter, chronically dissatisfied. Maybe she shape-shifted to keep peace. Maybe she swallowed her voice. Maybe she was the martyr. Maybe she was the victim, helpless, trapped, powerless. Whatever her pattern was, you downloaded it. You watched her and you learned this is what women do. This is what love looks like. This is the price of relationship. And now you're 35, or 28, or 42, and you're saying the same thing she said, making the same complaints, choosing the same type of man she chose, just with a different name. Because it's familiar, and your system will always choose familiar over happy if you're not conscious about it. But here's where it gets more twisted. You also learned to perform. You learned early that your authentic self wasn't acceptable. Maybe you were too loud and got shushed. Maybe you were too emotional and got called dramatic. Maybe you were too much and got told to be less. So you created a version of yourself that would be chosen, that would be loved, that would be acceptable. You became easygoing when you're actually particular, sexual when you're actually guarded, domestic when you actually hate cooking, agreeable when you actually have strong opinions. You performed, and the performance worked. You got chosen, but now you're exhausted because you can't keep the mask on forever. And when it starts to slip, when the real you starts to leak out, you panic because you believe deep in your bones that the real you wouldn't be chosen, that your authentic self isn't lovable. So you stay in the performance, and the performance makes you resentful. The resentment makes you critical. The criticism pushes him away. Him pulling away makes you try harder. Trying harder means more performance. More performance means more exhaustion. And eventually, the whole thing collapses. And you tell yourself he changed. He wasn't who you thought he was. He disappointed you, just like they all do. But here's the truth that's going to set you free even though it hurts. He didn't change. You did. You showed him a version of yourself that doesn't exist and then got angry when he fell in love with her instead of you. You set up a game where you can't win. Because if he loves the performance, he doesn't really love you. And if he tries to love the real you, you don't believe it because you don't believe the real you is lovable. This is the cage you built yourself. And you've been living in it for so long, you think it's just how life is. You think this is what relationships are. You think the exhaustion is normal, the performance is required, the emptiness is just part of being a woman. But it's not. It's the wound talking. It's the program running. It's the little girl who learned she had to be different than she was to receive love. And now let me show you how this plays out in your daily life. You're scrolling. You see her. Your high school friend just got engaged. Ring is perfect. Elaborate proposal. Your chest tightens. You feel something that tastes like metal in your mouth because you've been with your boyfriend for 3 years and he hasn't proposed. Or you're single and haven't even met someone worth a second date in months. And suddenly your life feels like evidence that you failed somehow. Next post. Your colleague bought a house. You're still renting. Next post. Someone's pregnancy announcement. And with each swipe, you're building a case. A case that your life isn't enough, that you're not enough, that you chose wrong, settled for less, missed something everyone else got. But here's what you're not seeing. That friend with the perfect proposal? She's texting you next month crying because he's already pulling away. The colleague who bought the house? She's drowning in debt, and her marriage is falling apart. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and it's poisoning you. You're measuring your real, messy, complicated life against edited fantasies. And here's the worst part. Even when you get the thing, it doesn't feel like you thought it would. Remember when you wanted a boyfriend? You were so sure that having someone would make you feel complete. Then you got him, and for a minute, maybe 2 minutes, it felt good. But then the newness wore off, and you started noticing things. How he never plans anything. That he's not as ambitious as you thought. How he doesn't text back fast enough. The moment something becomes yours, it starts losing value in your mind. This is the devaluation mechanism. You wanted curly hair, you got a perm, now you want it straight. You wanted the career, you got it. Now you want to be a mother. You wanted to be a mother, you became one. Now you miss your career. The target keeps moving because the dissatisfaction isn't about the target. It's about the wound inside you that says you're not enough. So nothing you get will ever be enough. Nothing will ever fill the hole because the hole isn't shaped like a relationship or a house or a ring. The hole is shaped like the love you didn't get when you needed it most. And you've been trying to fill it with everything except the one thing that would actually work, which is going back and giving that little girl what she needed then, now. But instead, you sabotage. You sabotage in ways so subtle you don't even notice. He's being consistent. You get bored. He's available. You feel suffocated. He's kind. You think he's weak. He's texting you back quickly. Your nervous system interprets it as desperation because your system was wired to recognize love as inconsistent, as something you have to chase, as something that hurts a little. So when healthy shows up, when real shows up, when stable shows up, you don't feel butterflies. You feel nothing. and you mistake the nothing for proof that he's not the one. But the nothing is just your nervous system finally relaxing because there's no threat, no wound being activated, no game to win, and to you, that feels like death. Because the aliveness you've been chasing your whole life isn't actually aliveness. It's anxiety. It's the stress response. You've been calling anxiety love. You've been calling stress chemistry. You've been calling pain depth. And you've been calling peace boring. So you create chaos. You don't mean to. You're not sitting there plotting, but you do it. You start a fight over something small. You test him. You pull away to see if he'll chase. You get cold to see if he'll warm up. You mention your ex to see if he gets jealous. You're running experiments constantly because you don't trust this. You don't trust him, but really, you don't trust yourself. And the tests push him away, which proves what you already believed, that you're not worth staying for, that everyone leaves eventually, that you were right not to trust it, and the cycle continues. New man, same pattern. Because it's not about the men. It's never been about the men. It's about the little girl inside you who learned that love equals pain, effort, uncertainty, chase, who learned that being herself wasn't enough, who learned that safety doesn't exist, who learned to stay ready, stay vigilant, stay in performance mode because letting your guard down means getting hurt. And that little girl, she's running your life. She's choosing your boyfriends. She's sabotaging your relationships. She's keeping you exhausted because she's still trying to solve a problem from 20 years ago. She's still trying to get daddy to see her, to get mommy to approve, to finally be enough for someone who couldn't give her what she needed, not because she wasn't enough, but because they were empty themselves. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're running old code, a program written when you were too young to question it. And now that program is outdated, but you keep running it because it's all you know. This is why you keep attracting emotionally unavailable men. Because available feels uncomfortable. This is why you get bored when they treat you well. Because kindness doesn't activate the wound. This is why you feel most alive when you're anxious about where you stand with him. Because anxiety is what love felt like the first time you experienced it. Your nervous system has been lying to you, telling you that butterflies mean he's the one when butterflies just mean your body is stressed. Telling you that ease means there's no spark when ease means you're actually safe. Telling you that if you have to work for it, it must be valuable when actually, love that requires constant work is just dysfunction. You've been choosing men you have to fix, men you have to heal, men you have to change, men who need you. Because being needed feels like being loved, because fixing him gives you purpose, because if you can heal him, maybe you can heal the wound in yourself. But you can't, because you're not his therapist, you're his partner. And you chose him because he's broken in the exact same place you're broken. And two broken people don't make one whole person. They make chaos. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable, where you have to look at your part in this, not to blame yourself, but to see where you've been complicit in your own cage. You chose him. I know you want to say he love-bombed you. He tricked you. He wasn't who he said he was. And maybe some of that is true. But there were signs. You saw them. You felt them. That weird feeling in your stomach on the third date when he said something that didn't quite add up. The way he talked about his ex. How he was hot one day and cold the next. How he couldn't commit to plans, but expected you to be available. You saw it, and you chose to not see it. Because seeing it would have meant walking away. And walking away would have meant being alone. And being alone feels like evidence that you're not enough. So you stayed. You made excuses. You gave him the benefit of the doubt. You believed his words instead of his actions. You invested more. You tried harder. You became smaller, quieter, easier, less demanding. You shrunk yourself to fit into his limited capacity to love. And now you're angry at him for not being what you needed when you never required him to be what you needed. You settled. You accepted crumbs and called it a meal. You took inconsistency and called it mystery. You took breadcrumbs and called them a trail back to love. And somewhere inside, you knew. You knew he wasn't ready. You knew he wasn't available. You knew he wasn't capable of meeting you where you are. But you stayed anyway. Here's what nobody tells you about healing. It's not pretty. It's not a spa day and a journal and some affirmations in the mirror. Healing means looking at every relationship that destroyed you and asking what part of you was drawn to the destruction. What part of you felt at home in the chaos? What part of you needed him to be broken so you could focus on fixing him instead of facing yourself? You have to stop telling the story where you're only the victim. Yes, he hurt you. Yes, he wasn't what you needed. Yes, he should have been better. But you chose him. You stayed. You ignored red flags. You gave him power over your worth. You made him responsible for your happiness. You tried to earn love that should have been freely given. And you did all of this because the wound told you to. That wound has been running your life. And until you turn toward it, until you feel it, until you grieve what you didn't get as a child, you're going to keep choosing men who activate it. Because here's the secret your nervous system doesn't want you to know. You're not looking for love. You're looking for resolution. You're trying to go back in time and win the game you lost when you were 7. You're trying to get the unavailable man to choose you, so you can finally prove to yourself that you were worth choosing all along. You're trying to earn from him what you should have been given freely by the people who were supposed to protect you. But he can't give you that. No man can. Because what you're actually looking for isn't in a relationship. It's in the relationship you have with yourself. And that relationship is broken. You don't trust yourself. You don't believe in your own worth. You don't think your authentic self is lovable. So you perform. And you choose men who can't really see you. Because being seen, really seen, is the most terrifying thing you can imagine. So you stay hidden. Behind the mask. Behind the performance. Behind the version of yourself you think is acceptable. And you wonder why you feel so alone even when you're with someone. You're alone because you're not actually there. You sent a representative, and he fell in love with her, not you. So even when he says he loves you, you don't believe it, because he doesn't even know you. This is the cage, and only you have the key, not him, not the next guy, not the right guy who finally gets you. You have to decide that the real you is worth knowing, worth showing, worth fighting for. You have to decide that being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. You have to decide that your peace matters more than being chosen. And that decision is terrifying, because it means grieving. It means feeling everything you've been running from. It means sitting with the little girl inside you who's been screaming for your attention for decades, and you've been too busy trying to get men to notice you to notice her. It means facing the wound, not in therapy speak, not in Instagram captions, but actually sitting with the pain of not being seen, not being chosen, not being enough in the eyes of the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. It means stopping the performance and seeing who stays. Spoiler alert, the ones who can't handle the real you are doing you a favor by leaving. They're clearing space. They're showing you they weren't your people. They're giving you back your energy so you can invest it where it actually matters, in yourself. You can't love someone into loving you. You can't perform your way into being chosen. You can't fix him into being ready. You can't manage his emotions, schedule his therapy, mother him into maturity, sex him into commitment, or shrink yourself into being acceptable. All you can do is show up as yourself and see who has the capacity to meet you there. And most won't. Not because you're too much or not enough, but because they're running their own wound, fighting their own war, drowning in their own unhealed pain. And you have to let them go. Not with bitterness, not with a story about how all men are broken, but with clarity, with the understanding that their capacity has nothing to do with your worth, that their inability to love you well doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means they're unavailable, and you no longer have space in your life for unavailable, because you're no longer unavailable to yourself. This is the work. Not finding the right man, not becoming the right woman, not figuring out the strategy that finally makes love work, but turning toward yourself with the same energy you've been giving away, meeting your own needs, validating your own feelings, seeing your own worth, not because you've achieved something or fixed something or become something, but because you exist, because that little girl inside you deserved love before she did anything to earn it. And so do you. When you do this work, really do it, something shifts. You stop choosing wrong, not because you've learned some technique or strategy, But because wrong feels wrong now, your system recalibrates. It starts recognizing healthy. And healthy stops feeling boring. It starts feeling like home, like relief, like finally being able to exhale after holding your breath for 30 years. And you'll know you're healing when you can sit alone in your apartment on a Friday night and feel peace instead of panic. When you can see him pulling away and feel curiosity instead of collapse. When you can walk away from someone who isn't meeting you and feel strong instead of broken. When you can look in the mirror and see yourself, the real you, and feel something close to love instead of criticism. This is the freedom on the other side of the wound. Not perfect, not pain-free, but real. You won't be performing anymore. You won't be chasing unavailable men hoping they'll finally choose you and prove your worth. You won't be shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You'll be taking up space. You'll be asking for what you need. You'll be walking away from what doesn't serve you. You'll be showing up as yourself and trusting that the right people will have eyes to see you. Your happiness isn't his responsibility. It's yours. Your healing isn't his job. It's yours. Your worth isn't determined by whether he stays or goes. It was there before him. It'll be there after him. And the sooner you stop outsourcing your value to men who can't even see themselves clearly, the sooner you get your life back. This isn't about becoming harder or colder or building walls. It's about becoming more yourself. It's about letting the mask crack, letting the performance end, letting yourself be seen in all your messy, complicated, imperfect humanity, and trusting that being real is better than being chosen for being fake. The men you've been choosing aren't the problem. They're the symptom. They're showing you the wound. They're mirrors reflecting back what you believe about yourself. And until you change what you believe, you'll keep choosing the same mirror. So, stop looking for him to change. Stop waiting for the right one to show up and fix everything. Start doing the work that no one can do for you. Start meeting yourself. Start seeing yourself. Start choosing yourself. Not because you're selfish, but because you're the only one who's been with you since the beginning and will be with you until the end. And that relationship, the one with yourself, is the only one that actually matters. Everything else is just a mirror. So here's what you do tonight. When the urge to text him hits, when you want to check if he's online, when you're about to refresh Instagram to see if he watched your story, stop, put your hand on your heart, feel it beating, and whisper to that little girl inside you, "I see you. I'm here." You're safe now. Then wait 90 seconds. Just 90 seconds. Let the wave of anxiety pass through you without acting on it. Because that urge isn't love. It's the wound, trying to solve itself the only way it knows how. And in those 90 seconds, you're teaching your nervous system something new. That you can feel the discomfort without needing him to fix it. That you can sit with yourself without performing. That you're enough, right here, right now, without his validation. Do this once tonight, then tomorrow, then the day after. Not because it will make him text back, but because it will bring you back to yourself. And that's where your power lives. That's where your freedom is. That's where you've been all along. Welcome home.